Hello and welcome everyone. This is your astrology forecast for new moon in Cancer. And this new moon is happening on the 25th of June. And it's happening just a couple of days after the summer solstice that we experience on the 20th of June. Depending on where we are in the world, this is summer solstice in the northern hemisphere and the winter solstice in the southern hemisphere. But no matter where you are in the world, you are experiencing the solstice. And the solstice is the time when the sun stands still. Solstice, the sun standing still. But the sol, the name for the sun, is very similar to soul. And this is the time when our soul asks us to take a break, to make a pause, to stand still, to observe, to listen, to feel our emotional body, to be in touch with all those things that we usually don't have time to deal with, or we consider those things, we don't take them as our priority. We take as our priority things that we have to do in this material realm. These are our priorities, to have food, to earn money, to have everything that we need, to finish all the tasks that we have during the day. But when do we do our emotional tasks? What is our emotional schedule? New moon in Cancer is really a big, big, big new initiation into something that is demanding emotional intelligence and emotional maturity. And we are all going to see how immature emotionally we are. And it's not easy, but it's necessary. It's how we grow. It's how we experience ourselves. It's how we experience who we are. And, we cannot always run away from ourselves and from what we are experiencing. We have to give big time and big space to our emotional expressions to come alive and to be there, to feel them. They want to be felt. And what do? When they start coming up, we start suppressing them in millions of ways, either through a lot of conversations, or we call someone and talk about it. That's not dealing with our emotional body. It's not like when we call a friend or a family member and then we talk with someone or we confess to someone. That's not really emotional maturity. So this is time when we are invited to really do it on our own. Of course we can share it, but first we have to digest it within ourselves and to give it space and time. So this new moon is happening on the 4th degree of Cancer. So whoever has some important planet or natal chart position around the 4th degree of cardinal signs, and these are Cancer, Capricorn, Aries and Libra, this will be felt the most for you. And it's where we have to do some very big emotional work, especially because Jupiter is in Cancer, and Jupiter is in conjunction with this new moon. It's right next to this new moon. And whatever Jupiter touches, it expands it. It makes it bigger, and it can take it to extremes. So we may feel extremely emotional, or we may have extremely emotional reactions, or we may have some big emotional healing going on, and big new emotional beginnings that has to do with our family, our childhood, our roots, our inner child, our emotional stability and security, our relationship with our mother and with other family members and with those who are closest to us. And it's time for renewing and refreshing our relationship with our inner child and with our inner family and with our inner home. Do we take care of our inner home? Do we take care of our inner family? Do we take care of our inner child? These things will be extremely important and we cannot escape them. You know, you can run, but you can't hide. It's that kind of energy. And Jupiter is exalted in Cancer, and Jupiter has been in Gemini until recently, until the first week of June. So this is really some big new emotional initiation and emotional rebirth. And it's time for us to grow emotional wisdom, to cultivate emotional intelligence, to devote a little bit of time to our emotions, to how we feel. Instead of always verbalizing how we feel, it's time to internalize it. Instead of externalizing all our states of being, it's time to internalize them first and then to bring them out. You know, it's like the process of, you know, preparing the food, or it's the alchemical process really, because first we have to do it within ourselves, you know, to prepare it, to cook it, to dry it, to go through all those processes and then to bring the product out. And we want to bring the best. But what do? We continuously bring out the trash because we don't deal with it. We just take it and we don't really even take it. We just reject all our emotions. We reject everything that we don't like. We reject everything that we personally consider bad for us. But all emotions are purposeful. You know, they are all coming from the family of emotions. And if we deny certain emotional expressions and states of being, then we deny ourselves. Then we deny our wholeness. And what do? We cut ourselves into pieces. You know, we choose. Because, you know, like, I choose to feel this. I don't want to feel this. But when we don't want to feel something, you know, it will keep coming back at us. And we may feel like, why is this always happening to me? This is always happening, but it's not that it's always happening to you. It's the logical consequence. It's the logical pathway of what we do. There is no mistake in what is happening to us. There is no mistake in what we are perceiving. As I always say, everything is really just perfectly designed, and it's in perfect alignment with where we are with ourselves in this present moment. So this is a time to deal with what is in front of us and to deal with it within ourselves and to see how we interpret those things. Why is something making me feel that way? What is it in me that it's causing me to react that way? What is it in me that it's making me feel that way? So it's really, really powerful time to experience all of this and not to miss this opportunity to face our inner child, inner home, inner family, to face our past. Because, you know, the Cancer, the fourth house, is related to past. And the moon also. The moon is the ruler of the Cancer, so this can be really emotionally overwhelming period, but also very liberating, emotionally freeing. And emotional floods are always possible with big water Cancerian energy, because the moon is related to water, Cancer is related to water, and we have Jupiter, who is exalted in Cancer, also there. So it's some big new beginning. It's a completely new emotional cycle for all of us collectively. And we may be faced with certain collective traumas and collective nightmares. And we may be traveling through time, going back to our roots and going back to our childhood, going back to the source of our triggers and traumas. And traumas are not something bad. They are also very purposeful. Traumas are our guides, and they show us, they give us the specific tasks. They're like, you know, the mission. Our traumas, they give us purpose and mission. And it's not really about re-traumatizing anything. It's about recognizing the trauma and being able to cut the repetitive loop of our family traumas, of ancestral traumas. And it's really time to stop repeating the cycle. And this is really big opportunity for big new emotional cycle. And it's really a reminder for us that no matter how dark it gets, there is always light coming. You know, as they say, darkest is before the dawn. And just as this summer solstice is also teaching us, in the northern hemisphere is the summer solstice, but in the southern hemisphere is the winter solstice. So somewhere is the highest point where the sun reaches the culmination, but somewhere else is the lowest point where the sun reaches the bottom. So what does this tell us? That, you know, no matter how dark or light it gets, it will come, the time will come when things will turn around. And it's not about living constantly in one state of being, but it's about being really able to stand still and to observe and to withstand and deal with everything that comes. You know, whether it's beautiful or terrifying, it's all life. And we are learning how to live. Nobody ever taught us how to live, how to deal with emotions, how to deal with heavy situations, how to deal with breakups, how to deal with death, how to deal with loss, how to deal with all those things that life constantly gives and offers. And nobody ever taught us how to walk through life in a way that is not suicidal, actually. And we may feel and see that we are collectively self-destructive because we mostly do things out of a need to be accepted by others. We rarely do things that are truly for the good of the being, for the good of the planet Earth, for the good of the nature, for the good of our own body, for the good of our own psyche. But we do things, we pretend most of the time. As I spoke in previous videos, this is all connected very much. And we are also going to see, we will be faced with where we are pretending the most, where we are playing our core roles out of fear of being misunderstood, rejected, abandoned. And Cancer in the 4th house, there is that primal need for emotional security, for being taken care of. That's the house, the placement where, you know, we experience the role of the mother. And we all have mother. You know, that we all have parents, no matter if they're around or not. We all have mother and father, and we carry them within ourselves. And relationship with them is the core relationship that dictates all our other relationships. And if those relationships are twisted, traumatized, full of fear, if they are programmed in a way that we are either playing victims or saviors, if we feel like we are victims in the family or saviors in the family, we also have a lot of work to do with ourselves, because these are also roles that we took on ourselves, and we think it's our job to solve these things. So we either get angry with family, or we feel sorry for our family, and then we fall into self-pity, or we fall into despair, or we fall into bitterness, and into many other states of being, of course. But this is really time to get some emotional clarity, This is the clarity of the heart. And the primal need, the primal fear of Cancer is abandonment, isolation, loneliness, separation, no emotional connection, no mother to hold me, no safety, nobody around who's going to nurture me, to feed me, to cook for me, to, put me in bed, to kiss me for a good night. These kinds of needs, these emotional needs may be extremely enhanced and volumed up. And we have to see what is there missing. What are we missing? We are missing ourselves, because we have to take care of ourselves. This is really an invitation that demands courage. This new moon is making a square with Saturn and Neptune in Aries, and we have to be really courageous and to do it on our own, to take full responsibility, Saturn responsibility, and to burn away all illusions, Neptune illusions, to burn them, Aries fire, to burn those illusions with self-responsibility, maturity, discipline, and emotional reconstruction. It's time for emotional reconstruction, but the square can be challenging. The square brings pressures and tests and crises. So we may feel emotional crises, and we may feel it in our body too. So we really have to see what is missing, what is triggering us, what we are afraid of, why are we doing things that we are doing, why we are reacting in the way that we are reacting, and to feel it, not to analyze it, not to think those things, but to allow ourselves to truly feel them, to be aware of the wisdom of silence and the wisdom of surrender, the wisdom of allowing ourselves to fully feel what comes up without trying to explain it, to interpret it, or whatever. We just have that, and we have to accept it and feel it. And this is, we are being faced with the inner child within us who wants to be nurtured. And most of us are completely unaware of these unfulfilled desires that are stuffed down, that have been accumulated over many years, decades, lives. And there is fear that we are too weak to nurture ourselves, to take care of ourselves, and to grow up, to be strong. But not to be strong in a way to become bitter, to become, how would I say this? Not in a way that we become strong and fixed in that strength, but to be flexible, to have space for being vulnerable, and to be our own mother and father, and not to be in a need for those things, because we may be faced with either our own or somebody who is close to us with their emotional needs and desperation. And if this happens, it's not wise to just dismiss these needs, because we may also be faced with arrogancy and with individuals who want to play it super strong and who don't need anyone's support, anyone's emotional presence, who doesn't need anyone's help. And these kinds of individuals may break during these times. Emotional breakdowns are very possible for those who played strong for too long, for those who rejected everyone's help, who rejected to be vulnerable, who rejected to show their emotions. These kinds of individuals may experience emotional breakdown, and it's good. It's not something bad. It's good when we experience emotional breakdowns. It's healthy. It's a way of how our organism purges itself, detoxifies itself, because it's too much. It's too much, and it doesn't have space to move around anymore. It has to explode. So these are emotional explosions. And this Cancerian energy has really huge power, especially with Jupiter there, to wash away our emotional toxicity, to wash away emotional poisons, to wash away all those needs that we have to show ourselves as super strong, super independent, emotionally mature, or on the other hand, to show ourselves as victims of our family, of our personal stories. You know, it's time to see both of these extremes and to allow ourselves to be witness of those extremes, to witness them, to be a conscious witness. And we may be avoiding healing ourselves, avoiding self-care through taking care of others. And this is very deep psychological twist, you know, when we want to be taken care of and then we start taking care of others extremely. We want to be needed. We want others to be emotionally dependent on us. So we constantly give and give and give and give, and we please others continuously, and we can never satisfy that need. And we will never receive back what we give, because we do it because of our own emotional emptiness. And we want to fulfill it, but that's not the way to fulfill it. We don't even have to fulfill it. We have to honor and accept that emptiness, to feel it and to live with it. It's not about fulfilling it. It's not about making that emptiness full. It's about realizing that the emptiness is also that part of the whole of who we are. And, you know, we may be experiencing, seeing those who are closest to us, how they take care of everybody else except themselves. And we may have a need to help them or to explain these things to them. But we should just really honor everyone's state of being and level of being, even though levels of being in its essence don't exist. There are no levels. You know, everything just is. And we just have to put ourselves into that state where we are also in a coherent relationship with everything that just is. But we experience struggles and breakdowns and crises because we want things to be different. And we never think about what would it be like if I just accept what is right here, if I accept what I'm experiencing right now without rejecting it, but with gratitude. And I also often mention this, that it's super easy to be grateful for good things in life. But especially this new moon right now is truly a very big cyclic emotional revolution that wants us to grow up, to go a level up, and to see, to recognize the value in things that we don't like, to recognize the value in things that cause us pain, that make us feel hurt, to acknowledge them and to honor them, to be grateful for those things. You know, it's as I say, it's easy to be grateful for the good, but it takes guts to be grateful for some other things that are not so pleasurable, enjoyable, beautiful. So it's really time to be grateful for those things that cause us troubles. And it's an opportunity to redefine family, you know, to completely transform the meaning of family. And this is something that will be an ongoing process, individually and collectively. We are changing the concept of family, of what family means to us. You know, starting from our blood family, then expanding it on our soul family, on our, you know, community family, then expanding it on the family and home of the country where we live in, you know, our neighbors, our people who live in the same country, then expanding it even more and feeling the family of the whole earth, of this whole place where we are right now in this realm. Because we are definitely all in this together, but we are all living different worlds and dimensions because we all have different perceptions. But when we are truly feeling like a family, then we learn from each other. We learn from each other's perspectives, and we don't devalue other people's perspectives and opinions. We take them into consideration, and we try to understand the other person. And it's really, really powerful time also to practice putting ourselves in other people's shoes, putting ourselves in other people's skin, and trying to understand. And even if we cannot understand, just to accept that we cannot understand. That's also just fine. You know, we don't have to lose our mind and heart because, you know, we don't have the same perspective about something. And it's not the big deal, really. So we are also faced with those kinds of things. And we are going to see how we've been conditioned to believe what family is. How those beliefs around what is family have been really imprinted into our souls. And it's time to break some of those spells, because this is really time for breaking the spells around our family beliefs, around our past, and we may be remembering some things from the past and seeing them in a completely new way. We are able now to see some things from our past, from our childhood, or something about our family and our family roots in a completely different way, with new eyes. We will have a new perspective and new emotional reaction on those same things that caused us something painful, perhaps. So now we have an opportunity to regenerate ourselves and to regenerate our emotional body and to see some things that made us who we are today in a new way, with new perspective, with new eyes. And this is where healing comes. And especially those people who make it difficult for us, they are probably our greatest teachers. They don't really have to be, you know, some wise sages. It's enough that they make it difficult for us, and they are already doing the work that they need to work. And this is how we feel closer with those who resonate with us also, because thanks to those who make it difficult, we can feel those who resonate with us on a bigger scale. And it's also important to be grateful for those who make it difficult for us. And I know this can sound a bit strange for many, but I'm sure that all of us who are here and who are here listening to these things, to these sharings, are able to understand that this is very important, because we are not getting anywhere if we are constantly blaming external situations and people. And it's not about blaming ourselves either. It's not about blaming at all. It's about acceptance, growth, feeling, and honoring all that comes and goes. Because, everything in this material realm is temporary. But what is permanent? That's the question. And I won't talk about what is permanent. It's our task, it's our internal work. It's our inside job to do it all on our own, to see what is permanent, what is essential, what is eternal, and not to stress so much about things that are temporary. And majority of things are temporary, and we lose our heads, our minds, and our hearts around things that are temporary. So it's very important to see what awakens those eternal feelings within us, what makes us feel eternal. And it can be very emotionally moving. This is really powerful time to cry, to scream, to be silent, to be active or passive, to do whatever you feel like doing. Not what you think you want to do, but whatever you feel like doing, do it. And don't think if it's right or wrong. We've been taught that it's sign of weakness to cry in front of others or to cry in the public. Of course, there are types of manipulation in that. There are signs of manipulation there too, but we all know the difference. If we consider this as a weakness, then it's time to change that. And if you feel like doing it, if you are, for example, in a public place, if you are surrounded by other people and you feel like crying, just do it. Don't hesitate. Whatever, no matter how they react, no matter what they do, it's your right to do it. As long you are not hurting anyone, you are not harming anyone, just let's express ourselves fully without suppressing our feelings. And we've been doing that for a very long time. This is what we have mastered, to suppress ourselves, to suppress everything that we want, that we need, just to suppress it. And it's really time to change this. Because it's not about being liked by others. It's about being alive, really. Just truly being alive and feeling ourselves fully, not numbing ourselves. And we mostly just want to be numb and not to feel things. If I could just not feel so much. But those are blessings. It's a richness of life to feel it all. No matter how hard it can be, as I said, no matter how dark it is, it will always be light again, very soon, very quickly. Nothing can last for too long. You cannot stay in one state of being for too long, not even if you want to. And just like we are trying so hard to keep the bright and light moment, but we cannot keep it. That's why we continuously lose it, and then we try to have it again, to catch it again. That's how we fall into addictions, into temporary pleasures, and all other kinds of things that are taking away our true power and our true aliveness. And this new moon is showing us that we can let go of those moments. You know, they come and they go. But what stays? That's the question. What stays? What is permanent? What is eternal? And how are we able to be in that eternity? That's being in the present moment. But we are always trying to catch something, to chase something, to run away from something. You know, we are rarely aware of what is right now. What is it in me? What's there to listen? Not with our physical ears, but to listen with our soul and our heart. And, you know, Cancer part in us wants a comfort zone. But there is a push out of it now. And we are creating new comfort zone. And we carry comfort zone internally inside of us. And it's time for owning our own needs. And it's really time to give ourselves grace and to give ourselves credit. And this is time for waking up our heart. And as you know, when we crush the herbs, we get essential oils. And in the same way, I also say this often, whenever is an ideal time, our being is being crushed now. And, you know, we are squeezed out. Our egocentrical, selfish wants and needs are being squeezed out. Our traumas are being squeezed out. Our programs, our toxic programs are being squeezed out. And we may try to pull them back, but we cannot bring them back. You know, it's already squeezed out. So what is left? We are about to see what is left when all these things are squeezed out of us. And our roles that we play need to be crushed in order for us to meet our essence. And our roles are temporary and essence is eternal. And we are now creating that safe space for essence to be expressed and for roles to be crushed. And this journey to the self can truly feel never-ending, but that's only because we are truly infinite. We never end, we transcend. And, you know, there is no rush. This new moon is telling us, take your time. Really, take your time. Take a break. Especially now because we had so much of Gemini influence and Jupiter was in Gemini, so it was really, really busy, mentally buzzing. And we maybe felt like we are going insane with all kinds of things that we had on our mind and when it comes to tasks that we have to do and conversations and words. It's time to really create our own private oasis and to take our time. And you know, we have to be willing to feel the fear and to identify why is it there. This is a very liberating experience. When we deeply feel and love our fear, it transmutes to love. And we have a very big help and support now to really understand the fear, understand the traumas, understand the past, and see all these things in a new way. And to grow big emotionally. And on a more mundane level, this can also impact our home space, our family. We may have a need to have more space, to have a bigger space for ourselves. Or we may be expanding our family and expanding the concept of family. So these things will also be very much in the play. And we are going to see how we've learned to compensate and take care of others to try to gain approval to feel safe. So our attention has been turned outward to please others instead of focusing on our own personal development, of to become confident, honest, authentic being. Because we are going to be faced with a lot of emotional manipulations too. And these are very tricky moments. But this is a time when these things are revealed. And the use of guilt is losing its power. Use of guilt has been used and abused for many, many, many different timelines and lifetimes. You owe me, I did that for you, you've got to be there for me, don't abandon me, don't leave me alone, you should be ashamed of yourself if you do that. All those things. You've all been faced with those kinds of manipulations, and probably from our own side as well. If not so directly, then in a more subtle way. But we are all trying to dominate and manipulate each other emotionally, because we are living in a fear, we are living in a trauma, we are living in a world where we want to be liked and approved instead of, just wanting to grow up and be alive, truly, to be real. And we make ourselves dependent upon other people. We become a burden for other people, and others become burden for us. We all know, how families become burden, or how our family members feel like they are burden for us. And it's time to see these things from new emotional perspectives. And this is all happening on an unconscious level. It's not really intentional. All these manipulations and how we become burdens and others become burdens, it's not really intentional. It's being inherited, and it's a program that we keep replaying. So it's time to recognize the repetition, to recognize that it's not ours, to recognize that it's not really natural. And we are also going to see dependency within the family. How, for example, a child doesn't want to leave mother, or a mother doesn't want to leave a child to go from home, to leave home, to grow up. Or how we, even if we are living in a different place, we are so emotionally attached, either because of beautiful things or because of some terrifying things. We are emotionally attached, and we keep coming back to family traumas. And we are going to see how these family relationships create a dissonance in our other relationships. And it's time to understand that nobody owes us anything, especially our parents. And this may not be easy for majority, but there is the key exactly in that uneasiness. If it's not easy, that's where the real work is happening. That's where we are crushing our roles. That's where our essence is being squeezed out. And it's really time to do it ourselves, not to expect others to do things for us, but not to do it in that arrogant way that I spoke about, where we are pretending that we don't need anybody's help, that we don't need anybody's support, and where we are, so strong and emotionally powerful that we are untouchable. But to just normally do things ourselves, to prepare the food for ourselves, to make room for ourselves, to nurture ourselves, to take care of ourselves, and not to expect others to do it for us, and not to desperately be in need, to be needed, and to do those things for others. And we may see how we are playing roles of parents to our friends, our partners, our parents as well. Are we switching roles, and are we trying to be parents to our parents? Are we trying to be a parent to our partner? Are we searching for a parent in our partner or in our closest friends? These things will be very, very strong now. And it's not easy to face them, it's not easy to admit them to ourselves, but it's very liberating emotionally. It's very healing when we can just accept, admit, honor, and allow our emptiness to become whole. Our emptiness is our wholeness. It's not something that needs to be fulfilled with anything externally. And we are empowered to become our own mothers and fathers and to reconnect with that inner home and inner family. And Cancer part in us wants everything that is safe, secure, familiar, and known. And we may be kicked out of that known place. And it's time to reach the unknown zone within ourselves without fear. And to honor it, as I said, to be grateful for the emptiness, to be grateful for the unknown, to be grateful for being crushed in order to be squeezed out and to see what is left. And it's time to trust that we have everything that we need, because in every given moment we have everything that we need. We have exactly everything that we need, and we gotta do it ourselves. Life is pushing us to do it ourselves. And being an example of emotionally mature individual is very important also. And it can be some kind of motivation for us to be an example to those around us, to our family members and to those who feel like family, that to be an example of an emotionally mature person, or at least someone who wants to be emotionally mature, who shows the signs of really giving their best to be emotionally mature. And you know, when we stagnate and try to make other people do things for us, to nurture us, to get us in bed, to prepare our food for us, we stop growing, we stagnate, and we become dead. And we become dead men walking. As I spoke before, we are, living in a zombie nation. We have zombie emotions, and it's time to really wash away and burn away all those zombies within ourselves. And we are about to see how when we do it internally, they disappear externally. And it's time to find our way home. Not the family, not the person. I'm coming home to spirit. I'm coming home to love. I'm coming home to be my own. And to inspire others to do the same, and to truly feel the unity of the family, to feel this place where I am as my home, and not to be afraid of living in my home, and not to be afraid of my family members. So this is really time to grow emotionally. And it's time to say goodbye to childhood fears, because we are still living in childhood fears. And this is where we grow our inner strength. And new moon is really time to plant seeds. So we are now planting those seeds. And we are uprooting some other things there. And it's really powerful time to heal ourselves. And we cannot be any kind of healer if we cannot heal ourselves. But this is not one-time thing. It's an ongoing thing, because we are every day faced with something. We are faced with some crises every day, every moment. And what is important is how we walk through life, how we walk through those crises, how we handle those crises, how we handle them emotionally. And, this is time to really take a different approach to taking care of our emotional needs. And it's a cosmic push forward, and something comes to a completion. Even though it's new moon, something is truly coming to a completion. And our intuition will be very strong, and it's time to trust our gut feelings. And we are turned inward to restore and to recharge and to replenish our spirit. And this can be, time of emotional drama as well. But it's time to align with our roots, and it's time for a deep release. And the emotions that we have are exaggerated now due to this Jupiter. We may be holding on to anger and sadness, but we may feel these emotions to a greater degree as well. But we also may feel joy to the higher degree as well. So but as I said, it's not wise to identify with these extremes, but to, feel them, give them space, but don't attach to them. Don't don't try to hold them, those that are enjoyable and pleasurable, and don't try to run away from those that are dramatic and intense. Let's appreciate the gifts that we already have and acknowledge the gifts that we've been given. And this new moon is teaching us to mother ourselves and to give ourselves those moments of silence when we can cry, process, and allow our feelings to come up. And this is not really a logical energy. Cancer is not a logical sign. It's a water sign. So it does not care about, pros and cons. And, it's not, there is no use of mental skills now. This is not mental level. This is not something that can be solved with our thinking process. And it highlights our feelings. And it may not make any sense at all. And it doesn't matter. If it's senseless, it's senseless. And let's honor it, admit it, and accept it. And just because our feelings doesn't make sense, it's not something that doesn't make them valid. Our feelings that we feel are valid, even if they don't make sense, and we don't have to explain them. It's not time to glue them with people or situations, but to truly sit with our feelings and emotions, to have a conversation with them, and to see which emotion would be our home. If we could choose one emotion as our home, which one would it be? And also to see which emotions drain us and exhaust us, and which ones make us feel like we don't belong, to identify them, to have a true conversation with them. And, this is a reminder that our home takes many forms. And, it can be a physical place, a shelter, a home, a place, or it can also be a vibration we live within each day. It can be and is a feeling. And we also know that something or someone feels like home too. So we are identifying also these things, and something that feels right to the heart, that feels aligned with the soul, and that feels supportive, and that lets us feel seen and held. And also what makes us feel unsupported in life. And we are now committed to releasing anything that doesn't feel like home to our whole being. And, it's time to truly address our feelings and to see what's best for our hearts. And of course, it's not easy. It's easier said than done. And it's not it's not about just releasing, as I said before, it's about being grateful to all those things that we want to release. And it's important to distinguish between what feels familiar and what feels like home. And it's a challenge to ourselves to say goodbye to energies that no longer serve our heart, to say goodbye to what doesn't feel like home. And this moon is here to help us, and so is our heart. And with this, I would end this forecast, and I wish us all a very powerful healing and a big new emotional growth time to cut those repetitive family traumas that we keep on replaying. I love you all and see you in 2 weeks. Bye bye.